Mrs. Devi, Assistant Professor, Department of Home Science, V.V. Vanniyaperumal College for Women, Virudhunagar. Today we are going to discuss about the topic baking principle and baking process. What is baking? Baking is both an art and science. It is a thermal process which used oven to heat the dough, which transfer the heat via conduction, convection and then radiation. Conduction through heated surface and then convection through hotter air and then radiation which used oven and then heated surface such as flame. And then next we see about the stages of baking process. First one is the formation and expansion of gas, trapping of the gas in the air shell, gelatinization of starch, and then coagulation of protein, evaporation of water, and then melting of shortenings, crust formation, and then browning. First of all, we would talk about the formation and expansion of gases. The mostly gases responsible for the leavened baked products are carbon dioxide, air and then steam. Carbon dioxide which is produced by the action of yeast, baking powder and then baking soda. And then air is incorporated during the mixing time. And then steam. The steam is produced during the heating process. Then next one is the trapping of the gases in the air cell. After the formation and expansion of gas, the formed gases are trapped in the protein present in the dough. That is the protein called gluten and then egg protein, that is trapped the gases present in the dough. Without this protein, the gases would escape and the product will be collapsed. The next process is the gelatinization of starch. Next one is the gelatinization of starches. After trapping of the gases, the dough undergo gelatinization. The gelatinization temperature is 60 degrees Celsius. This gelatinization process gives the structure to the product. The next, coagulation of protein. After starch gelatinization, the protein like gluten and egg protein will be coagulated. If too high temperature, the protein will easily coagulated. If low temperature, the protein will not coagulate, so the final product will be collapsed. Then evaporation of water. This evaporation of water done at the baking time. Mostly high temperature evaporate the water present in the dough. And then melting of shortening. Shortening, it refers to the vegetable or hydrogenated fats that is used for baking. Mostly shortening give the texture to the product. So, selection of shortening is very important in baking. Mostly butter and then lard, that is pork fat used for the shortening. And then crust formation. Finally, the moisture will be evaporated and the product will be dry. And then browning. Caramelization of the sugar occurs browning. Then next we see about the steps of bread making. Then flying fermentation, mixing, bulk fermentation, folding, dividing and rounding, proofing, panning, final proofing, baking, cooling and storing. These are the steps of bread making process. In the flying fermentation, first we have to take some amount of yeast and then water, then add some amount of salt and then rest for 5 to 10 minutes. Then add some of the flour and make a thick paste. This process is known as flying fermentation. And then mixing. Mixing is the important step in the bread making process. So all the dry ingredients are mixed together. In this stage, gluten will be formed. And the next, bulk fermentation. After mixing, the dough will be undergo bulk fermentation. So during this time, the gluten will be developed and elasticity. And then folding. This is also known as knockback. The extending the sides of the dough and putting it in the center. This process is known as knockback or folding. So during this time, the knockback is very important. So the whole mass of the dough come in contact to the fresh air. And then dividing, rounding. During this process, the dough is divided into desired size. So only we get the accurate weight of the bread. Then proofing or intermediate proofing. The dough pieces are loss of some of the moisture and then gluten strands during the dividing process. So intermediate proofing will be given to the dough. During this time, the protein will be stretched easily. And then panning. Panning or molding according to the desired shape. And then final proofing. The final proofing temperature is 95 to 98 degrees Celsius. So the dough get volume and then protein will be matured. And then baking. Finally baked the products at 200 to 220 degrees Celsius. Then after baking, immediate cooling will be given to the product. Then finally store the product in the ambient temperature. This is the process of baking. Thank you.